The disciples gathered under the vast canopy of the Bodhi tree, their faces lit by the morning sunlight. Buddha's serene presence filled the space, drawing their attention like a calm tide. He began, his voice gentle, yet resonating with profound clarity. Dear ones, life is interwoven with moments of joy and inevitable suffering, Buddha said, his gaze sweeping over the assembly. Each of you here has endured pain, loss, and confusion, he continued, his tone steady and compassionate. Some among you have lost loved ones. Others have faced the burden of poverty and illness. The disciples nodded quietly, their hearts stirred by his words. The question is not whether suffering exists but whether it can teach us, Buddha said with unwavering focus. A disciple named Ananda asked, Master, how can we view suffering as a teacher and not as our enemy? Buddha turned his calm gaze to Ananda, acknowledging the depth of his query. To see suffering as a teacher, one must first stop resisting it, Buddha replied patiently. Resistance binds you to pain, adding layers of despair and frustration, he explained, his voice carrying a soothing cadence. He paused, allowing the forest sounds to emphasize his next words. Accept suffering as part of the human condition, as a passing cloud in the vast sky of existence, Buddha said. Ananda, imagine a man pierced by an arrow. Would he question why it was shot before removing it? He asked. Ananda considered this carefully, his brow furrowed with thought. The man should first remove the arrow to tend to his wound, Buddha continued, emphasizing each word. Likewise, in facing suffering, your first task is not to question its cause but to alleviate its sting. He told the story of a woman named Kisa Gautami, who was overcome by grief after her child passed away. She carried her son's lifeless body, seeking help from anyone who might bring him back, Buddha began, his expression reflecting both sorrow and understanding. She came to me, pleading for her son's life, Buddha recalled, his voice heavy with the weight of her despair. I told her to find a mustard seed from a household untouched by death. The disciples listened intently, their own experiences of loss surfacing in their minds. She visited countless homes, but none were free from the shadow of death, Buddha said, his tone measured but firm. When she returned, her perspective had shifted, he explained, nodding slightly as though acknowledging the power of realization. She understood that suffering binds all beings, transcending wealth, age, and status, Buddha said. In seeing this truth, Kisa found the strength to lay her child to rest and seek the path of wisdom. A quiet stillness fell over the disciples as they absorbed the depth of the story. Suffering is a universal thread, weaving together the fabric of existence, Buddha explained, each word resonating with quiet power. But within suffering lies an opportunity, a chance to grow, to learn, and to connect with others, he said. One disciple named Rahul asked, Master, how can we take the first step to face suffering without fear? Buddha turned to Rahul, his expression kind yet resolute. Begin by observing your suffering without judgment. As a witness rather than a victim, Buddha advised. Meditate on it, as one would observe ripples across the surface of a still pond, he added. Do not label it as good or bad, for such labels imprison you within duality, Buddha continued, his hands gesturing softly. When you name your suffering as unbearable, you reinforce its power over you, Buddha explained. With deliberate precision, instead, see it as a phenomenon, one that arises and passes. Like the seasons, he said. Another disciple, Maya, spoke up, her voice tinged with hesitation. Master, what if the pain feels too overwhelming to bear? She asked, her eyes reflecting vulnerability. Buddha's gaze softened as he addressed Maya directly. Dear one, overwhelming pain seeks your full presence, not your denial or distraction, Buddha said gently. When you sit with it, You honor its existence without allowing it to consume you, he explained. Seek the breath as your anchor. A reminder of impermanence and renewal, he added. His tone firm yet compassionate. He shared a personal reflection from his own path to enlightenment. As I sat under this very tree, I faced suffering in its rawest forms, Buddha began. I encountered the hunger of my body, the fears of my mind, and the doubts of my spirit, he recalled, his voice carrying the weight of that memory. But in sitting with these truths, I discovered something profound. The suffering did not define me, he said. It was a part of my journey, a stepping stone to liberation, Buddha explained, his words sparking hope among the disciples. In each wave of pain, there is a lesson waiting to be unveiled, he said. Consider suffering as the soil in which wisdom takes root, he added, his tone thoughtful. Without the soil, no plant can grow. Without suffering, no true wisdom emerges, Buddha said with conviction. Rahul asked, but Master, what if the suffering feels unjust, as though it serves no purpose? Buddha acknowledged the question with a nod. Understanding its weight, suffering does not discriminate. It is neither just nor unjust. It simply exists, Buddha said. To question its fairness is to trap yourself in a cycle of resistance, he explained. Instead, seek its teachings. For every moment of suffering holds a hidden insight, Buddha advised. Life is a river flowing through valleys and over rocks, Buddha said. Using a metaphor to clarify his point, the rocks may obstruct its path, but they also create music. Guiding its course, he explained. Your suffering, like the rocks, shapes the river of your life, providing opportunities for redirection and growth, Buddha said. Ananda reflected aloud. Master, does accepting suffering mean we should not seek to end it? Buddha's expression grew thoughtful as he answered. Acceptance is not submission, it is understanding the nature of what is. He elaborated further, saying, to accept suffering is to view it clearly, without adding unnecessary layers of fear or anger. Buddha paused, ensuring his words resonated before continuing. Once understood, you may take wise action to alleviate it. For yourself and for others, he explained. He shared another parable. One about a fisherman who lost his net in a storm. Grieving, the fisherman sat by the shore. Believing his life was over, Buddha began. But his time of stillness revealed a new truth. He could mend his net, Buddha continued. Through patience and effort, he wove a stronger net, one that withstood future storms, Buddha said, like the fisherman. Each of you has the power to mend what suffering has torn apart, Buddha said. Your tools are mindfulness, compassion, and wisdom, threads that restore and strengthen, he added. The disciples felt renewed determination, inspired by Buddha's teachings. Dear ones, suffering is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of a deeper understanding, Buddha concluded, as the sun climbed higher, filtering golden light through the canopy. The disciples sat in peaceful reflection. Buddha's words lingered in their hearts, planting seeds of transformation and resilience. The morning breeze carried the sound of chanting, a hymn to life's impermanence and its infinite potential. And so, the lesson of suffering began to unfold within each disciple's journey. Another day dawned in the tranquil forest of Bodh Gaya, where Buddha's disciples gathered under the shade of ancient trees. Buddha's presence was serene, his gaze gentle as he invited his disciples to sit closer to him. His voice carried the calm of the morning breeze, drawing their attention inward. Dear ones, Buddha began, his tone resonant and soothing. Life unfolds in cycles of suffering, joy, growth, and decay. He looked toward a disciple named Govinda, who appeared lost in thought, burdened by his inner struggles. Govinda, share what weighs on your heart, for your pain is a part of the human experience, Buddha said kindly. Govinda hesitated before speaking, his voice trembling slightly. "Master, my fields have failed, and I have nothing to offer my family," he said, his eyes reflecting despair. Buddha listened attentively, his silence allowing Govinda's emotions to flow without interruption. "Your suffering is valid, but it does not define you," Buddha said with measured reassurance. He narrated a tale of a farmer whose crops were destroyed by a storm, leaving him penniless. This farmer mourned his loss, but his sorrow did not stop the seasons from changing. Buddha began softly. Through reflection, he saw the flood as a force that reshaped his land. Buddha continued, his tone imbued with wisdom. The farmer planted new seeds, ones suited to the altered soil, and his harvest flourished. Buddha explained calmly. "Govinda, suffering disrupts but also invites transformation. It beckons us to find new paths and redefine ourselves," Buddha said. The disciples murmured quietly, their hearts stirred by his words. Buddha paused, allowing his teachings to resonate in the stillness of the forest. "When you embrace suffering, you strip away its power to control you," he said, his words deliberate. "It becomes not your enemy but your teacher, revealing attachments that lead to pain," Buddha explained, his voice steady and clear. A young disciple named Nalini asked, "Master, how can we find strength when suffering feels unbearable?" Buddha turned his compassionate gaze toward her. "Nalini, suffering often seems greater than your capacity. Yet within you lies untapped resilience," Buddha replied. "Discover this resilience by grounding yourself in your breath, a reminder of life's continuity amidst chaos," Buddha added. He guided the disciples through a breathing exercise, his voice soothing and rhythmic. "Focus on the rise and fall of your breath, as if you were watching waves upon the shore," Buddha said. "Each breath carries renewal. Each exhalation releases burdens that weigh upon your heart," Buddha encouraged gently. Rahul spoke next, his voice uncertain. "Master, I fear the suffering caused by loss. It has left me without direction." Buddha listened with unbroken attention, his silence a testament to his understanding. "Rahul, loss is a form of suffering that compels you to rediscover your purpose," Buddha said slowly. He told the story of a potter who lost his workshop in a fire, destroying years of labor. Grieving deeply, the potter sat amidst the ashes, believing his life's work had ended. Buddha began. Yet as time passed, he realized the fire had also cleared space for innovation. Buddha said, the potter rebuilt his workshop, crafting vessels stronger and more refined than before. Buddha continued, his words tender yet firm. Loss stripped away what was fleeting, leaving room for the enduring and the meaningful, Buddha explained with quiet confidence. The disciples reflected deeply, sensing the transformative potential within their own trials. Buddha shared an observation about suffering's nature. Suffering is transient, as impermanent as the seasons that turn the wheel of time, Buddha said. Its purpose is not to punish but to teach, to call forth wisdom from within your being, Buddha elaborated. When you listen to suffering rather than resist it, you uncover its hidden lessons, Buddha advised. Nalini asked again, her voice soft yet determined. Master, what lessons can suffering teach us? And how can we apply them? Buddha answered, his tone gentle but unwavering. Suffering illuminates the attachments you hold dear, exposing their impermanence and their role in your pain, Buddha said. Through suffering, you learn compassion for yourself and for others who endure similar struggles, Buddha explained further. Compassion bridges the divide between souls, fostering connection and unity amidst adversity, Buddha added. A disciple named Arjun questioned, Master, is there a way to prevent suffering altogether? Buddha turned his steady gaze toward Arjun. Preventing suffering entirely is beyond the reach of human existence. Its presence is inherent to life, Buddha answered. However, by transforming suffering, you alter its impact, turning adversity into an opportunity for growth, Buddha said with quiet determination. He narrated a parable about a blacksmith who faced hardship after breaking his hammer. Believing his work had come to an end, the blacksmith felt consumed by despair. Buddha began. But as the days passed, he forged a new hammer. Stronger and more enduring, Buddha continued. The blacksmith's suffering forced him to innovate. Bringing forth tools that enriched his craft, Buddha explained patiently. Similarly, suffering reshapes your path, urging you toward greater wisdom and resilience, Buddha said with a slight smile. The disciples nodded thoughtfully, their minds stirred by the parable. Buddha encouraged the disciples to reflect upon their own lives. Think of your trials not as barriers but as stepping stones toward transformation, Buddha advised. Each challenge bears the potential to deepen your understanding and broaden your capacity for compassion, Buddha said with conviction. Nalini hesitated before asking again. Master, how do we know when suffering has transformed us? And when wisdom has been gained? Buddha's gaze softened as he answered her. You know transformation has occurred when suffering no longer feels like an enemy but like an old friend, Buddha said. Through wisdom, you find stillness amidst chaos and compassion amidst hardship, Buddha elaborated. Wisdom allows you to approach life's challenges with a serene heart, unshaken by fear or doubt, Buddha said. He told another story, this time about a weaver whose threads often snapped while creating cloth. Frustrated, the weaver sought a solution that would strengthen his craft, Buddha began. He adjusted his methods, weaving with patience and precision rather than force, Buddha explained. Through trial, the weaver produced cloth finer and more enduring than before, Buddha said with quiet satisfaction. The weaver's suffering taught him patience and resilience, qualities essential for growth and fulfillment, Buddha added calmly. Likewise, each of you must discover patience and resilience through your unique struggles, Buddha said. Rahul asked one final question. Master, does suffering ever truly end? Or does it evolve? Buddha considered Rahul's question deeply before answering. Suffering evolves, its forms changing with each stage of life. But its purpose remains to guide, Buddha said. Through wisdom and compassion, you lessen its grip and use its teachings to illuminate your path, Buddha elaborated. Dear ones, suffering is neither eternal nor futile. It is a catalyst for transformation, Buddha concluded. When viewed as an ally, it reveals the path to liberation and fulfillment, Buddha said. As the sun descended behind the forest, casting golden hues, the disciples sat in quiet reflection. Buddha's words resonated deeply, planting seeds of understanding within their hearts. They vowed to embrace suffering as a teacher, discovering wisdom through its lessons. The day's teachings marked another step in their journey, bridging suffering with enlightenment through compassion and resilience. Another day began with the soft glow of dawn spreading through the forest, painting the leaves with hues of gold. Buddha sat beneath the Bodhi tree, his presence serene, drawing the disciples toward him like moths to a flame. They gathered in silence, their faces reflecting a blend of anticipation and reverence. Dear ones, Buddha began, his voice calm and measured. Suffering, when understood, can become the gateway to enlightenment and boundless wisdom. He paused, his gaze settling on a disciple named Sariputta, who seemed troubled by unspoken burdens. Sariputta, share with us the thoughts that trouble your heart, Buddha encouraged with gentle compassion. Sariputta hesitated, his voice trembling slightly as he spoke. Master, I feel weighed down by the sorrows of the past. They seem inescapable, he confessed. Buddha listened attentively, his expression unwavering yet filled with deep empathy. Sariputta, the past is but a memory. Its pain lingers only when you cling to it, Buddha said softly. He narrated the story of a man who carried a heavy sack of stones up a steep mountain path. The man refused to let go of the sack. Believing it essential despite its burden, Buddha began. With every step, his suffering grew, until he collapsed under its weight. Buddha continued. Another traveler came by and asked why he bore the burden of unnecessary stones. Buddha said. Thoughtfully, the man realized his folly and released the sack. Finding his path lightened and his spirit renewed, Buddha explained. Sariputta listened intently, the metaphor resonating with his own inner struggles. Release the burden of your past. Sariputta, its weight serves no purpose in your present journey, Buddha advised firmly. The past cannot be changed, but its hold over you can be loosened through mindfulness and understanding, Buddha added. The disciples reflected, sensing the wisdom in Buddha's words, their own burdens feeling lighter. Nalini, still seeking deeper understanding, asked, Master, how do we free ourselves from attachments to suffering? Buddha's gaze turned to her, his eyes kind yet penetrating. Nalini, freedom begins with awareness. Observe your attachments as one would observe clouds passing across the sky, Buddha replied. He guided them into a meditation, his voice a steady anchor. Close your eyes and breathe deeply. Grounding yourself in the present moment, Buddha instructed. Notice the thoughts and emotions that arise, but do not cling to them. Let them flow like water, Buddha continued. Through this practice, you will see that attachments dissolve when you stop feeding them with your energy, Buddha explained. Rahul, still seeking clarity, asked, Master, what if the attachments return despite our efforts to release them? Buddha nodded, acknowledging the persistence of human struggles. Attachments, like weeds, may regrow, but through consistent mindfulness, you strengthen your ability to uproot them, Buddha said. Each time you release an attachment, you loosen its roots, until eventually it ceases to dominate you, Buddha elaborated. Be patient with yourself, for liberation is a journey, not an instant transformation, Buddha added. Buddha shared another parable to illuminate his teaching. A bird caught in a snare struggles fiercely, entangling itself further in its desperation, Buddha began. But when the bird pauses, observing its bindings, it finds a way to untangle and free itself, Buddha continued. Likewise, when you struggle against suffering, you become entangled, but through calm observation, you find freedom, Buddha explained. Ananda asked, Master, what lies beyond suffering when it has been transcended? Buddha's expression softened, and his voice took on an ethereal quality. Beyond suffering lies a state of boundless compassion, wisdom, and unity with the infinite, Buddha said, his words resonating deeply. This is the state of enlightenment, where the self dissolves and all that remains is interconnectedness and peace, Buddha elaborated. He spoke of his own journey to enlightenment, the trials and insights that led him to transcend suffering. As I sat beneath this tree, I faced my fears, desires, and illusions, peeling away their layers like an onion, Buddha said. Through this process, I saw the truth, that suffering arises from ignorance and attachment, Buddha continued. By releasing these, I touched the infinite, finding peace beyond the duality of joy and pain, Buddha explained. Nalini asked, her voice filled with wonder, Master, how can we touch this infinite when we are bound by so many struggles? Buddha turned to her, his gaze serene yet powerful. Nalini, the infinite is not distant. It resides within you, waiting to be uncovered through practice and wisdom, Buddha replied. Begin by cultivating compassion, for it is through connection with others that you glimpse the boundless nature of existence. Buddha said. He narrated a tale of a king who found enlightenment not in riches but in service to his people. This king learned that true joy came not from possessing but from giving, not from ruling but from serving, Buddha began. Through acts of kindness, He transcended his ego, finding a deeper purpose in unity with others. Buddha continued. Compassion is the bridge that connects you to the infinite, dissolving the illusion of separateness, Buddha explained. The disciples felt a quiet stirring in their hearts, the seed of compassion taking root. Buddha's gaze swept over his disciples, his expression radiating calm certainty. Dear ones, suffering is not an end but a beginning, Buddha said with quiet conviction. It is the soil in which the seeds of wisdom and enlightenment are sown, he elaborated. When you embrace suffering as a teacher, it ceases to bind you. Instead, it liberates you, Buddha added. He concluded with a final parable, one that encapsulated his teachings. A lotus grows in the mud, its beauty rising above the murk to reach the light, Buddha began. Without the mud, there would be no lotus. Without suffering, there would be no wisdom, Buddha explained. Let the lotus be your symbol, a reminder that beauty and growth emerge from adversity, Buddha said gently. The disciples sat in contemplative silence, their hearts and minds profoundly moved. As the sun set, casting golden rays over the forest, they felt a deep peace settle within them. The day's teachings marked a turning point, a deepening of their understanding of life's nature. They carried Buddha's words within their hearts, a beacon guiding them through the cycles of joy and suffering. And so, their journey continued, shaped by the wisdom of their master and the infinite potential within themselves. The night enveloped them, its embrace gentle, its silence profound, its rhythm aligned with the truths Siddhartha had shared. Ananda looked upward, the moon no longer a distant orb, but a part of himself, a part of all. Thank you for watching. Buddha's teachings are always with you. Subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next video.